Welcome, and welcome to those of you back. We have a nice core constituency for this event, and welcome to all the new people. I promised our publisher, Ken, I was going to try to be optimistic. I even named this show Green Shoots Hunting, to try to focus on the upside, the potential upside in media right now. But man, it is hard. Just as we were programming the show, Claire Malone comes out with this now famous New Yorker essay talking about how we're expecting an extinction level event in media this year. I'm trying to talk green shoots. She's talking about comets and dead dinosaurs. And the woes of media are so obvious right now. They barely are worth restating. But just for the record, obviously we are in a bit of an ad slump now. We're seeing some progress in digital right now, but we're all worried about AI news scraping, the collapse of search and social traffic drivers, the reemergence of the homepage if we can do it, the collapse of local news, of course, subscription fatigue, and just the attention wars between news and entertainment in particular. Obviously, and we've seen this coming for the last decade, we are in the middle, we are just in the middle stages of a process that started decades ago, but it's been clear for a decade as well. The end of mass media as we built and knew it in the last century. We're in that middle stage where we're starting to see it disintegrate, and we don't know what form it's going to take now. But this is where history helps. The forces at work here on media, they really are not just tech-driven, although we love to blame the tech layer for this. They really are forces that have been at work here for a long time, which is a way of saying that in this breakup with mass media, it's not just you, it's us. The fragmentation and the clustering of physical communities, this started in the 1980s demographically. America was building its psychic bubbles back then. We were self-sorting demographically, and we were also starting to self-sort in our overall social discussions. All of those things, all of those patterns, they were going to be brought forward over the decades, and technology was going to simply exploit and accelerate a lot of them. The acceleration of interest groups and sub-communities, they were joined by the internet, but they were already forming. Those forces were already there. America was already in that post-mass media, mass culture stage. Niche media and narrowcasting, we saw this start in the 70s. That's what cable was about. That's what it introduced. Remember, in 1992, Bruce Springsteen was singing about 57 channels and nothing on. That trajectory was already there. We were starting to see this already take place. The map for a radically fragmented attention in media was already being laid, and we were watching it evolve. And then we saw, of course, the rise of digital intermediaries, search and social. And what really powered them was that they were able to take advantage of that moment, of those social trajectories, in ways that traditional and old media couldn't. They were able to identify and bring these communities together and give them platforms that we weren't able to see and take care of. Traditional media used to be the locus around which communities formed. You guys have spent the last 20 years chasing communities down across the internet, using all the tech platforms that are out there. But there's still a big question here. And I think going forward, we still have to ask this question. And I know that it's a point that over the 30 years that I've been covering digital media, I've heard again and again. Did these digital brands really build loyalty and brand identity? Or did they just build dependency? And is that different from loyalty? Google, Facebook, is there brand love there? Even Netflix. Does Netflix have the kind of loyalty and identity that a Disney does, that a Discovery does, that the New York Times does, that Motor Trend does, that HBO does? I've used this phrase over the last 30 years that I've been covering media. I think I must have used this phrase at least 1,000 times. We as publishers don't know the best forms of media yet because our audience doesn't know yet. New patterns of consumption and institutional trust, values around what information we want and where we want it to come from, that's in flux, along with all of the authorities of institutions and all of our sense of trust and identification with institutions. Those are all in flux right now. We are a part of that. What we're seeing now is tied to all of that. So again, in this breakup we're having with mass media, it's not you, it's all of us. The old structures of media, they're all, and especially advertising too, they're likely going to have to change, probably radically. The focus around media clearly has become, for instance, for now, in the niches, and how to build viable business models around those narrower, smaller cohorts that we can focus on. And we're clearly, what we're seeing now is we're starting to move away from a pure media model. If the audience is going to be smaller, then we as companies have to move beyond what we've been doing now for a century, which is just push information out to them. Instead, we need to find better ways to integrate with different aspects of audiences' lives and to do it in different ways that are not just media-based. So we're really starting to look at innovations like community interaction, games, cooking, co-branded products, enabling audience self-expression, being the platform that helps pattern people be what they want to be and connect with each other, live in real life presence, audience collaboration, betting, virtual world building. All of these have to be on the table now. And we're not just talking about diversified content anymore. We're talking about diversified interactions, about relating to people and audiences in very different ways. The whole idea of a media brand is probably going to change very much and probably going to change pretty radically to the point where we may not recognize it soon. The technology disruptors have commoditized the surface aspects of media, the information. But the real question becomes, have they successfully commoditized or replaced traditional media brands' audience affinity, their voice, their brand identity? I'm not so sure about that yet. I think we're still about to see that. But I think if we take seriously this idea that we're really watching the disintegration of the old mass media structures that we've seen, then we have to be ready to reimagine all of its elements. What is a media brand? Clearly, it's going to be a lot more than content. How is it built? Well, we've already seen a phone manufacturer, Apple, become one of the most powerful media arbiters of the 21st century. The world's largest retailer, Walmart, just bought a TV company not to sell more TVs, but to get access to its technology and its ad technology to expand its own media network and to better measure ad performance. The egghead cultural anthropologists I used to hang out with had a term that they used to characterize moments like this. They called it the liminal state. And when in studying cultures over history and around the world, it's when institutions and old values have lost their power and authority, and there's nothing obvious yet to replace them, that we're in that median zone where we're fishing around for what are the places where we will focus our values and authority. This is a period of chaos and creativity. It's very scary, but it's also the place where new and sometimes wild notions are grown. This is the place where creativity happens. When you look back historically over cultures that are in this state, this is where new and wild ideas come out. It's not you, it's us. At this summit, however, what we're really going to focus on is the ways in which business models are evolving. We'll see some signs of this, I think, in the things that we're going to talk about, but we're really looking at how do we expose the green shoots of revenue, where people really are starting to see some business performance and some breakthroughs. Today, for instance, we're going to look at revenue portfolios overall and the ways in which the revenue mix is integrated and works together, but we're also going to look at go-to-market ad strategies for the coming year. Tomorrow, we're going to look at profit and diversifying your audience, but we're also going to look at streaming opportunities. And then on Saturday, we'll look at the ways in which AI is going beyond simply content and the ways in which you guys are starting to use it in a deeper way. And we'll also talk about local media models that are starting to reemerge. And we have two cases from both the New York Post and the Independent that I think explore what I was just talking about. Media rethinking what a brand is and about, and the ways in which they can monetize audiences in unique and creative